Hey everyone, and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. Today we're going to be going over the patch 7.3 gearing systems. It looks like they're pretty much implemented as intended on the PTR now, so we've got a fair idea what's up, and today I'm just going to fill you in on what the broad landscape looks like. Let's start it off with World Quests. From what I've experienced on the PTR, World Quest gear rewards range from 885 roughly to 895, and of course they've got the potential of then Titan Forging up to something that's a lot higher. Now, what I just said was the world quests that take place on Argus, not the ones on the Broken Isles. So the world quests on the Broken Isles have had their rewards increased, but not to the point where they are on par with Argus, at least so it seems. Regular world quests on the Broken Isles seem to cap out at about 880, and then I saw a Season 5 PvP world quest that dropped 890 gear. So overall, you're like a 10 to 15 item level bump for the current Broken Isle stuff. Well, actually, a good bit more. And then like 10 to 15 item levels above that for the Argus World Quest rewards. And of course, they do scale based on your character's own gear level. And this was me doing it with a 915 Demon Hunter. Next, let's talk about dungeons. So much like with the introduction of patch 7.2, we are once again seeing an increase to dungeon difficulty and rewards. And basically, this is something that Blizzard do to give the dungeons a relevant difficulty level and reward for 7.3 geared characters. We are getting another 20 item level bump across the board. So this means that normal dungeons drop 845, heroics drop 865, and then mythics drop 885. We can then assume that Mythic Plus continues as it currently does, with roughly a 5 item level increase every 2 keystone levels for your chest gear. Well, that's your end of dungeon chest gear, I mean. Now, we expect that it's going to cap out at Mythic Plus 10, as it did with the period of time after 7.2 launched, but before the Tomb of Sargeras launched. These item levels overall do seem very high, but remember that they are generally just raising the item level floor for the expansion, so really it is all relative. So back to the Mythic Plus stuff, your weekly plus 10 chest should be about 930, and your weekly plus 15 chest should be 955, but the plus 15 will probably unlock with the new raid, and then 10 item levels below that for the base drops from the end of dungeon rewards for the Mythic Plus stuff. Of course, that's all changeable, and they could tweak the Mythic Gear stuff once patch 7.3 releases. We'll just have to see. Okay, next, let's talk about gear tokens. Much like with Nether Shards in patch 7.2, we have Veiled Argonite in patch 7.3. This resource has a few different uses, but mainly for purchasing item level 910 gear tokens. These tokens operate in a similar manner to the patch 7.2 relinquished counterparts, and they basically provide you with a reliable-ish way of getting decently high item level gear. The key difference with patch 7.2 stuff, though, is that we now have individual relic tokens. This is a really good one. So previously, there was one relic token, and it would just give you a random relic, which was terrible if you wanted to fill in a particular slot on your weapon. The good news is that's no longer going to be a problem, effectively giving us our first ever highly reliable way of getting a good new relic for Fresh Characters Artifact. This has been my main gearing bottleneck when doing the class review series, so it's a very welcome addition for me. Next, Veiled Argonite comes from a few different places. So, first, treasures and rares in Argus will drop a little bit of it. Unlike Nether Shards, it does come from the regular world quests on Argus. So, sort of like how you get the Nether Shards from the 7.2 invasions, that's just shifted onto Argus world quests now. You can also get them from doing Legion Invasion points. These, I think, fill a similar niche to the 7.2 Legion Invasions, but they operate slightly differently. On the world map, you'll see invasion portals. These spawn in and out as time passes, and I'm talking about like a few days here. If one's active, you can go in, grab a few friends, I think a total party size of 3. They take 3 to 5 minutes, and you can complete each one of the portals once. You can re-enter them after the fact, but when you re-enter, you'll just find you're at the same place that you've just cleared. Overall, the uptime is a lot higher than the 7.2 invasions, which seems pretty handy. And then on top of that, there are greater invasion points, which seem to be on a weekly basis. Now, doing a regular one gave me 50 Veiled Argonites, so you'll probably want to just keep on doing those. The gear costs 650 per token, so acquisition times seem to be similar, if not a little bit faster than Nether Shard gear. Thankfully, it's less dependent on, like 6-hour Legion Invasion windows. Now, the greater invasion points are important for another reason. They contain bosses which drop 930 gear, and these seem to fill a similar niche to world bosses. Indeed, I was looking around and I couldn't really see any traditional world bosses on Argus, just the ones inside the greater invasion portals, so I think that's probably just a weekly bonus roll thing for some 930 gear. Now, there are also 880 gear tokens. Currently, these are not on any vendor, but there is a vendor who's just sort of, there's an NPC who's sitting there who it looks like he's supposed to have something, but he doesn't currently. That said, they do drop around Argus, and some of them are actually Battle.net account bound. This means that you will be able to send them to other characters and get them started pretty much very quickly. Quite similar to the timeless tokens of patch 5.4, so I'm sure our banks will just be stuffed full of them by the end of the expansion. Of course, crafted gear is also worth talking about here. We're getting a new tier of crafted gear that can be upgraded all the way to 935 using Primal Obliterum, which is obtained at the Obliterum Forge, the new Obliterum Forge NPC, and it's just at the cost of a Primal Sargarite and a regular Obliterum, so that'll just be a core part of the 7.3 economy. Now, we also should talk about Antorus, but remember the raid will probably come out 2.5 months after the patch launches. Antorus LFR gear is 915, Normal's 930, Heroic's 945, and then Mythic is 960. The final boss is 10 item levels higher on every difficulty. And finally, there is one new legendary being added in this patch. I believe it doesn't count the equip limit. It is item level 1000 and is obtained by defeating the final boss of the new raid through a quest. Now, I expect the legendaries will be upgradable to 1000 once the new raid comes out in just the normal manner. So, there we go. That is a broad overview of the new gearing options that are going to be available to you once this patch drops. Overall, what you see is a pretty reasonable continuation of what we've come to expect with Legion, but with